For Rishi Sunak, it must feel a little like the famous film Groundhog Day. Whenever the British Prime Minister wants to spread a positive message to the people, a scandal within his own ranks steals the show. And this is also the case at the moment, because the Conservative head of government wanted to be celebrated for reducing the social security contribution rate by 2 points. But his party colleague William Ragg made the headlines instead. He sent intimate photos of himself to a contact he met on a dating app for gay men. The prominent vice chairman of an important parliamentary group, the committee, has now admitted that he was blackmailed with these sexting images. Fearing that the material would become public, Ragg passed on private telephone numbers of other Tory MPs. And when I'm filming this, he has not yet been suspended. British media are already asking how big the case will become. In addition to Ragg, another MP is said to have fallen for so-called honey sweet news, as the Times newspaper reported. And other figures from the London parliamentary district of Westminster, such as political advisors and journalists, are also said to have received lure messages. For Sunak's Tories, the latest case has once again come at an inopportune time. In polls, the Conservatives have long trailed the opposition Labour Party, and as of now, they are likely to lose the parliamentary election planned for this year. An exact date has not yet been set, as we know, and they are about to lose by a landslide, and with it a number of MPs will lose their mandates. Above all, the sexting scandal, which some politicians suspect is a foreign secret service behind it, is far from the first Tory scandal involving, let's say, bare facts. A good 60 years ago, a case that had all the ingredients for a James Bond thriller brought down the Conservative government of Prime Minister Harold Macmillan, the Profumo affair. The Married Minister of War, John Profumo, denied in Parliament that he had a relationship with a 19-year-old Kristen Keeler, who also became involved with the Soviet naval attaché Yevgeny Ivanov, who in turn was, according to the British, a spy. In June 1963, Profumo was forced to resign after being convicted of lying. In October, the Macmillan government fell and Labour came to power. And 60 years later, people still talk about Pestminster, as the pestified Westminster is derogatorily called every few months. 2 Labour politicians have also lost their seats since the previous election in 2019 because of sexual harassment. Above all, Sunak's Conservatives have been reeling from one scandal to the next for years now. As early as 1997, the US broadcaster CNN reported on the scandal-plagued Tories, and 20 years later, Prime Minister Theresa May was allegedly informed weekly about the sexual indiscretions of Conservative MPs. Parliament has been synonymous with sexual misconduct for centuries, concluded The Economist magazine in July 2022. In recent years, the number of disreputable cases among Tory politicians has increased. Ex-MP Charlie Elficki was sentenced to prison for sexual assault, as was ex-MP Imran Khan for sexually abusing a 15-year-old. And several other Tories were expelled from the group. Neil Parish was seen watching porn in the chamber, and Christopher Pincher groped 2 men when he was very drunk. And about a year ago, the opposition Liberal Democrats published an alphabet of Tory corruption and scandals and listed several cases. Better protective mechanisms are now in place, and more cases are becoming known that would previously have been swept under the carpet, as Hannah White from the Institute for Government think tank told the Political magazine at the end of 2023. But no one has yet tackled the root causes. A firmly rooted power hierarchy, a lack of labor rights and long working hours, extreme stress, heavy alcohol consumption. Well, the Parliament has its own bars with significantly lower drink prices because they are subsidized, as well as deep party loyalty and the associated obligation to maintain confidentiality are some of the reasons. Bullying and sexual misconduct is about power. That's what Labour MP Charlotte Nichols told Politico. I often wonder whether people who pursue politics as a career may be more inclined to act in ways that lead to abuse of power. But things are currently looking bad for the Tories everywhere, not only because of the scandals, because the Conservatives could suffer a major defeat against the opposition Labour Party in the upcoming UK election, according to a poll. According to the latest forecast from the Market and Opinion Research Institute YouGov, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and his Conservative Party could suffer a severe election defeat. And this is reported by the news agency Reuters. Sunak has announced he is planning the general elections for the second half of the year, so we still don't know when exactly. The model developed by YouGov, which predicts results for individual parliamentary seats based on estimated vote shares, suggests that Sunak's Conservatives could win just 155 seats. Labour, on the other hand, could secure 403 seats according to these predictions. And just for reference, the British Parliament consists of a total of 650 seats. And these results reinforce Labour's long-standing lead in the polls. The YouGov forecast suggests that Sunak continues to struggle to gain momentum following a tax cut last month and ahead of May's local election. And I mean the month, not the former Prime Minister. Prominent Conservative MPs who could lose their seats include Chancellor of the Exchequer Jeremy Hunt and former leadership candidate Penny Mordaunt, according to YouGov. And for the survey, YouGov surveyed 18,761 British adults between March 7th and 27th. According to the Polling Institute, the method was able to correctly predict the results of the two previous elections. And for the upcoming election, the model predicts a result in which Labour would lead with 41% of the vote, while the Conservatives would have 24%. However, it was noted that the results could differ from regular surveys due to the handling of non-voters. The Conservatives have been in government either alone or in a coalition since 2010, but have had 5 different prime ministers during this time. In recent years, Brexit and the scandal surrounding the handling of the corona crisis have particularly disrupted the British political landscape. And the first past the post or FPTP voting system is the method used for electing members of Parliament in the United Kingdom for the House of Commons. The country is divided into a number of geographical areas called constituencies, and in each constituency, voters elect one candidate to represent them in Parliament. Each eligible voter can cast one vote for their preferred candidate in their constituency. The candidate who receives the most votes in their constituency wins the seat. It doesn't matter if this candidate does not have an absolute majority, that means over 50% of the votes. They only need to have more votes than any other single candidate. And this is sometimes called a plurality system. Unlike some other voting systems, such as ranked choice voting or proportional representation, voters in FPTP elections only mark one candidate on the ballot, and they do not rank candidates in order of preference. FPTP does not ensure proportional representation in Parliament, and this means that the number of seats won by each political party may not directly reflect the proportion of votes they received nationwide, or normally doesn't do. It's possible for a party to win a majority of seats in Parliament without winning a majority of the popular vote, like in 2019. And FPTP is relatively straightforward both for voters and election officials, because voters simply choose their preferred candidate and the candidate with the most votes wins. Despite its simplicity, the FPTP system has faced criticism. One common criticism is that it can lead to a lot of wasted votes cast for losing candidates or for winning candidates in excess of what is needed to secure victory. Critics also argue that it can produce disproportionately large majorities for the winning party, leading to a lack of representation for minority views. Another example was 2019. And despite its critics, the FPTP system has been used in UK general election for centuries and remains in use at the time and even for the next general election in 2024. And if you want to know more, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.